All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Guna Eagle Eye coming to you again with a preview, this time of the Arsenal versus Leicester game. And with me today, I've been for for I can't tell you how long I've been trying to get this man on my show. So I'm very, very, very happy to say that I've been joined by Memz for this. So say hello to the people, Memz.
Hey, good evening, Chris, and thank you very much for inviting me to your channel, mate. I'm a big fan of your channel, and we spoke many times on Arsenal Fans TV. Usually the roles are reversed, so I'm really looking forward to actually coming on and speaking about the game. Usually it's me asking the questions here, mate, so it's an absolute pleasure to be on your channel, and really looking forward to tonight and talking about the game as well, so much appreciated, mate.
No problem. Yeah, there's a weird pressure all of a sudden because you make it seem so seamless. So now I'm under pressure to do the same. So hopefully I'll do a good job.
No.
But going into this preview, we can't go into it without talking about what happened yesterday. All your thoughts about yesterday, mate?
Do you know what, Chris? I mean, obviously he changed the formation against Borough. He played the three at the back. And when I saw the team selection yesterday, I thought, you know what, this is either going to be a humiliation or it's going to be a genius move. And when I looked at the team sheet yesterday, I thought, I'm a bit nervous. But the first half as well, I mean, for the first half, they totally dominated us. But second half, Chris, it just seemed to click. You know, we created a few chances. We got a bit lucky, don't get me wrong, with the save from Czech, which tipped onto the post, and the header from Fernandinho. But I thought, as a team, we played for each other. There was a bit of aggression there. They worked hard, and especially when Welbeck came on, I thought he brought something really sort of like to the game. His pace and movement, it was really, really good. But I mean, from 1 to 11, Chris, I thought the whole team played really well. Czech made a decent save. Yeah, okay, maybe he could have come off his line for the Aguero goal. I thought maybe he was a bit slow to come off his line there. But you look at Gabriel, you know, I mean, that guy's been people saying to me like he's a walking disaster, etc. But I thought he was absolutely immense yesterday.
Yeah, he
was brilliant, Chris. You know, I mean, he made challenges. He was comfortable on the ball. You know, Rob Holding was immense yesterday. I don't know how Mustafi's going to get back in his team, honestly, because Koscielny was solid. I thought Xhaka was probably one of his best games that he's played for a long, long time as well. You know, Alexis played well, he's working hard. Ozil was particularly working hard. Yeah, we didn't see the silky skills from Ozil, but I think he contributed a lot to the team. I thought it was just an outstanding team performance yesterday. And it was really nice as well, Chris, to see the fans coming together at the end, because we've had to sort of endure so much as a fan base, put up with so much. Even Arsene Wenger, you know, I know that there's myself and you, we want change, but I've always wanted that Arsene Wenger to rise like a phoenix and to prove people wrong, you know, because for what he has done for the club, and it was so nice yesterday to see him giving it all that, you know, that glorious salute that he gave us all those years ago. It was almost like, you know, a lot of us got that little bit of a spark back. You know, I felt it was really nice to go into work today. I'm sure you felt the same, Chris, going to work with this, you know, this little warm feeling inside, and it's been a long time since I felt like that. Yeah, so overall, it was a great victory, and I'm really looking forward to the cup final as well. And I think this will be a nice way to end the season as well after everything that we've been through. So let's hope we can lift that cup again for the record. What would it be? How many times would that be now? Was it 20 times? Would it be if we won it? I don't know. It's been a lot. It's been a few times though.
Yeah, I didn't make for that. Wenger basically picked a team that, to be honest, even I, at the time, I was discussing the game with Lee and Sam, and we were both saying that, you know, probably it's best to kind of reverse the tide and perhaps go back to our 4-4-3 shape. But you made a big call, 4-3-3 shape. I don't know what I'm talking about, 4-3-3 shape. But you made a big call, to be fair. You stuck with three at the back, and I was nervous seeing the hide, I must admit. But what I really liked, I mean, if you're to pick out some standouts, I mean, Holding, wow. That kid, I'll tell you what, if that's Arsene Wenger's legacy and he does go at the end of the season, fair enough. What a legacy that is. Because when you look across at the team we played and the fact that they forked out 50 million on a player that I'm not certain is better than Gabriel, to be honest. I'm not saying he's better than Gabriel. And then you look at the fact that we spent £2 million on Rob Holding, and that guy. I know a lot of people say, oh, we build up English players and this, that, and the other. Listen, I'm the first one to call people out on that crap. But I really like this player. What do you reckon about Holding?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I agree with you. But it just shows if a manager's got some balls and he's willing to sort of take a gamble on some players at the lower leagues. You see at Bolton, But another example is Dele Alli. Spurs paid $5 million for him, and it shows that there are players out there. If you're willing to sort of take a gamble for relatively low amounts of money. I know Rob Holding's played only a handful of games, but I agree with you. He looks composed on the ball. He looks very dominant in the air. And in comparison to what City paid for Stones, looks like an absolute snip. And I really like him. I think he's, like you said, he's got a great big future ahead. Of course, we've got Callum Chambers to come back as well. So I think in that central defensive area, I think we've got a lot of cover, and I think we've got some really good options there to play there. I think we would need probably if we're going to play the three at the back, we'll probably need a left-sided centre backs, almost like the Vermaelen that can cover that left-handed sid, be a bit more natural there. But I think that we've got more than enough cover there. But another player that really stood out for me was Oxlade-Chamberlain yesterday, and I did mention him during during my little sort of intro there. I thought he's been absolutely brilliant on that right-hand side. He's really come to life over the last couple of weeks, Chris. He's got a lot of stick over the last couple of years, and he's been in and out of the team. He's done well. He's picked up an injury, but the fans have been very quick to get on his back whenever he's overhit a cross or whenever he's misplaced the pass or he's been caught in a dangerous area in his own half. But I think now he seems like he's got a bit of confidence now, and I think Wenger's now sort of like giving him that sort of like confidence by playing him every week in, week out. And I think on that right-hand side, in this formation, he's got so much pace and energy and work rate. Whipped in a lovely cross yesterday for the Monreal goal. And as a player who's going to be coming up to the end of his contract, and there's rumours that Liverpool are sniffing him. For me, I think we've really got to do everything we can to keep Oxlade-Chamberlain at the club. I think he's a massive asset to the club. And it just shows what confidence can do, Chris. When a player's confident, it just shows that he can step up his game another 5-10%.
Yeah, I 100%. And he is a player that can frustrate, but I think he's a player that has so much talent. I've said it before on this channel that he's the one player that you can rely on to grab the ball and just say, fuck it, I'm going to run at these players and let's see what happens. And that's what I love about him so much as a player. And I think he's almost as important as Alexis to keep at the club. We have to do everything possible to keep him.
I think he's a very unique player, really, Oxlade, isn't he? Because he's got that ability to go past players. He can dribble. He's got pace. He's got strength. He's got a good shot on him. He can play. He's so versatile as well. He's played right back at one time this season. He's played on the right wing, left wing. He's played centre. He's so versatile. And I think, if we was to lose the Ox and he went over to sort of Liverpool or something, I think that would be such a bad move, because I think at another club he could really step on and become an absolute beast. And now he's sort of reaching his potential. It would be wrong to sort of let him go.
Particularly if Klopp got hold of him, you just know he's going to improve him.
Yeah, definitely.
You know he is.
Definitely.
So I'm hoping he does.
Chris, I think that two players. I don't really want to dig out players, but I think two players that probably let us down yesterday was Ramsey. I thought we had a bit of a poor game. The first goal from Aguero, he sort of went into a tackle on the edge of their box, really 50-50 tackle. We sort of like bailed out of it, and they hit us on the counter attack. And I thought he was a bit poor. And I thought Giroud was poor at times yesterday. He was sort of like positionally wise. He was out on the wings a lot of times when the crosses were coming in. His hold up play, link up play was poor. But overall, I don't want to sort of like take the negatives. There's two players out of 11, but I thought just want to mention them now. I thought that maybe if you did want to pick out players, then them two probably could have done a bit better. Well,
to be honest, it's a great segue to a story that came out just before we went on air, and that was the fact that Marseille look like they're going to do everything possible to buy Olivier Giroud, and they're looking to bid up to 20 million for it. What is your opinion on this? Because it seems like the Arsenal fan base are a little bit split, which surprised me a little bit. Like, some feel like he's a good plan B and a plan B we should keep. And then some think that, blimey, 20 million, I'll drive in there myself. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion that I would sell him, but not for 20 million. I'd sell him for more than 20 million. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Do you know what, Chris? It's a great question, and I was having this debate on Twitter before I came on as well, because considering his age, I mean, I think he's pushing 30 now, and he does get a lot of stick. But I think for the money that we laid out for him, I think it was about 12 million that we laid out for him. I think he's done very well at Arsenal. You know, he's considering the strikers that we've had over the years, the Bergkamps, the Henry, the Anelkas, you know, these top quality strikers. He's not in that league. But saying that, he's not as bad as the Shamaks and the Bentners, etc. So he's probably in the middle. And for his goals to games record, he's been a very good signing. The thing with Giroud is he can do the magnificent, he can do the brilliant, he can do the spectacular, he can chest it down and score an overhead, or he can score, you know, the scorpion kick, or he can ping one out and sort of, but then he can do something quite stupid, and he can miss a glorious chance. And I think Thierry Henry was probably right when he said 2 years ago that Arsenal won't win the league with Giroud, and he got sort of like criticised for that. But I think that is the reality, and I think we need that striker who is more mobile, got a bit more pace, and because you saw when Welbeck came on yesterday, Chris, you know, you know, he can relieve the pressure off the defence, especially when you're not keeping the ball. You need that striker that's going to chase down channels and maybe close down defenders. Giroud doesn't really do that, but I can see what Arsenal fans are saying with having Giroud off the bench, because when things ain't going right and you need a goal, when you want to put balls into the box, he has got that area ability to sort of make things happen. £20 million. Let's get this right for a player at his age. I think it's a good move. To be honest.
It's good now.
I think so, Chris, because at the end of the day, you know, he's pushing 30. You know, he signed a new contract. I think he's got 3 years left on his contract. But I think contracts at this sort of stage, you know, it doesn't really mean anything. I think that if a player's under contract, you can just get more a sell-on fee for him. That's all it's about. So personally, if Marseille are willing to pay £20 million for Olivier Giroud, providing we would invest that money and buy a top quality striker, then absolutely, I think it would be a good move. But it's a tough call. I can see why fans are sort of divided over this.
I think there are a lot of people who believe that because Giroud has such good attributes in terms of his physical presence and stuff like that, and it's a little bit different to. I think most people would accept Lacazette, for example. Let's just say, for example, coming in. But I think somewhere along the line, people will be thinking, maybe we need a little bit of more of a bully up front, more of a physical striker up front. And I think that's where I think people are a little bit unsure about letting someone like Giroud go. Which I can understand, because Welbeck, it's not like Welbeck has seen a season for Arsenal and not been injured. But I think potentially Welbeck could fill that role. I know a lot of people laugh at that because I know he's a horrendous finisher. And a lot of the reason I gave him criticism yesterday, but everyone knows how much I love Welbeck. I think he works so hard for the team. And I just feel like if he could just be a bit fit, a little bit more, and score a little bit more goals, he'd be such a good player, because he's got everything else. I think he works so hard. He's got pace, he's got presence, he's got energy.
I mean, I like Danny Welbeck, and like you, he's frustrating because of his finishing. But like you, I think he works very hard. He pushes the channels, and there were some, you know, amazing runs what he done yesterday. I mean, if you could get a striker which was a combination of Danny Welbeck and Giroud, that had the pace, had the area ability, had the strength. You know, you got the Lukaku at Everton. You know, he's a combination of Welbeck and Giroud, isn't he? I mean, he's Premier League proven. It's going to be a lot of money, but. What do you think of, you know, Lukaku coming in as a replacement for Giroud? Would you take that?
I've had mixed feelings about Lukaku. So when he was younger, when he was like 17 and more or less just coming into the league, I thought, man, that player is going to be a good player for Chelsea. He really is. And then I started watching him at West Brom, and he was coming to fruition, and he's getting better. And now I see a lot of people saying, yeah, we should go and get him. I do find that with Lukaku, if he's not scoring, he goes missing out of games. But then the argument comes into play, well, ultimately, all you want a striker to do is score goals. And we'll do the rest. And ultimately, we are a better team than Everton. But I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, I would not be upset if we bought Lukaku. I personally would prefer a Lacazette or an Aubameyang
Okay.
But I could definitely understand the argument for Lukaku. And hey, if we were to go for him, fair play. Like you say, he is a hybrid of all the players we just mentioned. Plus, he
Yeah,
can finish. As
and he's
long as he
proven.
doesn't go missing in games. I do find sometimes for Everton he does go missing in games. That's
I
my
agree
only
with you.
issue. When he feels like playing, he's right up for it. And it could just be the fact that he's clearly not that happy at Everton. And even though he's not that happy at Everton, he's leading the Premier League goal scorer chance.
Yeah.
So that just says something about him.
And,
So,
and he's Premier League proven as well, Chris. I mean, it's less
exactly.
of a gamble, as we've seen with Mustafi. You know, sometimes you can take a gamble and you can buy players like Lucas Perez from a different league, and you're not always going to get an immediate sort of result.
Yeah, I saw that tweet from you. Let me ask you about that. So I saw you say that we feel we should offload Lucas Perez. Why is that?
Well, I think for the money that we've laid out for Lucas Perez, I think it was £17 million. Yes, he has done well, but I think for what we sort of wanted, I don't think he's ticking the boxes because I like Lucas Perez. Don't get me wrong, and I think that when he's taken when he's got his chance, he's taken it. But there is sort of rumours that he's a little bit homesick. I'm good friends with Jenny Lizarazu, who's very well in the know in the Liga, and there's all types of rumours that he's sort of contacting people and trying to come back to the Liga, and he's unhappy in life in London. So I think if we can sort of recuperate some of that money that we laid out for Lucas Perez, I would let him go because let's be honest with you, he's not exactly the youngest of strikers. I think he's pushing towards 29. And for the money that we laid out for him, I think if we can get sort of like 15 million pound back for a player that's unhappy in England, then so be it. Let him go. And if we can get that money for him and offload Giroud as well, like you said, if we can buy an Aubameyang, if we can buy a Lacazette, I'll be more than happy with that.
Would you bring in? So lots of people are suggesting potentially either a Lukaku or a Lacazette with maybe a younger striker like Mbappe, which I think is ideal, or the Celtic guy, which a lot of people think potentially could be so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Monaco striker. You know, he's really good, and he reminds me of Thierry Henry so much. But the only problem is that every club across Europe is now going to be hunting after him. You know, Real Madrid's going to be sniffing after him. City are going to be sniffing after him. So his price has probably gone up from sort of like 50 million euros to 75 million euros to 90 million euros. It's a lot of money. And when it comes down to bidding with the big boys, you know, Arsenal sort of like don't really want to get involved in that sort of thing. So, I mean, if you look at the striker from Celtic, he's probably more interesting. Chris Hudson, who I'm very good friends with, he rated him when he was at Chelsea. Sorry, when he was at Fulham. And he's a great striker. But the Scottish Leagues is a funny one, Chris, because you can. I mean, you know, I'm 41 and I probably can score like 30 goals a season in the Scottish League, make me the right service. So it's a tough one, isn't it? You know, some players can do fantastic in certain leagues. We saw Kesman a couple of years ago, but in the Premier League, it's slightly different. So I'm very sort of scared about bringing players in who are unproven in the Premier League, if that makes sense.
This is kind of why I suggest that if you do offload a Perez, bringing in someone like who's a project, if you like, for the want of a better expression, and then someone who's a proven striker like a Lukaku or a Lacazette, you take the spotlight off Dembele, for example, and then you put it on the guy who actually is a proven striker, and it gives that other guy a time to develop and score goals. And I think potentially if Fener is going, and I'm still leaning on the fact that he is going. I worry, but I still lean on the fact he's going, especially after yesterday's interviews. I wonder if potentially that might be the way to go for Arsenal. I'm talking about pipe dream stuff. I'm just spitballing here.
No, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. I think there's going to be. I mean, if Arsene Wenger stays or goes, we don't know. But I think this summer is going to be very busy in terms of transfers and. Let's see. I think it's going to be a roller coaster. So keep your hats on and don't book your summer holidays too much. You know what I mean? And keep your internet with you. Keep refreshing that pages because I think
I will be. I will be. Okay. Well, going into the Leicester game, it is a game that for some reason makes me a little bit nervous, even though our record against Leicester at home isn't that bad. But they seem to have remembered that they're champions,
Yeah,
and have been playing reasonably well lately. I know they've lost a couple recently, but generally since Ranieri left, their form
yeah,
has dramatically improved.
yeah.
How do you feel going into this game?
Like yourself, I mean, under Ranieri, they sort of like, I think they reached the peak last season, and unforeseen heights, and
Mm,
players were playing absolutely out their skin. Mahrez and Vardy were
mm,
absolutely immense. This season, they haven't reached the potential as what they did last year. And since Ranieri's been sacked, I think the manager won 5 on the spin. Since then, they've lost a few games, but you've seen Vardy's now sort of banging in goals more regularly recently.
mm,
Mahrez seems to be playing particularly well. It just
mm.
shows sometimes that manager change can bring the better out of players, etc.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit nervous. Probably because we've played such a tough game this weekend with extra time at Wembley with a big pitch. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain picked up an injury at Wembley, and apparently he left Wembley on crutches. Leicester are going to be quite relatively fresh. That's the only reason I'm nervous, and probably with the pace of Vardy, it's worrying. But at the end of the day, I think we've got a little bit of confidence now. I think this will be a good opportunity maybe for Arsene to sort of like rotate a little bit, maybe bring Bella in on that right-hand side, maybe bring El Neni in for Ramsey, just to bring, make things a little bit more stable. So I think this would be a good opportunity for Arsene just to mix and match, bring a few players in. But if he did do that and then we lost the game, people were saying why disrupting the
might
winning
change
team?
it.
But I think the league now is probably, obviously, we're going to be fighting for top 4. But I think now we need to start thinking about the cup final, resting and rotating players, etc. It's going to be a tough one. I mean, I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be an entertaining game for sure. I think there'll be a lot of goals. A little bit nervous, but yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that most people will understand if Wenger makes changes. He played 120 minutes. What do you want the man to do?
Yeah.
Like, we only played that yesterday. So
Mm.
I think given that, I can see some changes being made. I'm hoping that the Oxlade-Chamberlain thing was just him having cramp. And while he might not necessarily play against Leicester, man, oh man, we need him for that Spurs game. So
I agree.
hoping that is not a long-term injury.
Yeah.
But I suppose with that, usually what I do is I kind of do a hopeful 1 to 11 for my previews.
Okay.
So what would your 1 to 11 be? Would you even change the shape? You
I
know,
would probably. I mean, at the end of the day, since he's changed the shape, we've gone 2 games and 1-2. So, the shape seems to be working. Even though for the first 45 minutes against City, I thought we were struggling, but at the end of the day, results are what counts. And I think Wenger even spoke about this formation, how it makes us a little bit more defensively sound, and that's why he's played it, because we was leaking so many goals. And since he's changed the formation, we have sort of stopped the rot, because we was conceding 3 almost every game. So I would keep the formation. I would keep the shape. I mean, if I was to pick my 1 to 11, obviously Czech would probably start in goal, and I think you would agree with me. The back sort of 3, Gabriel, who's played really well, Koscielny and Holding will probably stay that way. And I think it would be wrong to bring in Mustafi if he's fit, because I don't think Mustafi's been playing particularly well. So maybe this will give him a little kick up the backside. Mertesacker, we haven't seen him all season. So the back 3, I think, picks itself. Monreal, he's been playing really well on this left-hand side, but it might be an opportunity to give Gibbs a game on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, we spoke about the Ox if he's not fit. Play better in maybe. I was thinking about that. I don't know if Theo can play that role, which is the Ox is playing, because I don't think Theo's as disciplined as what the Ox is. So I think Bellerin will probably be the only player at the club that could play that natural attacking sort of wing-back position. And then you've got your 2 centre mids, and Xhaka's been playing quite well. And I think he's now sort of like getting more embedded into the team. Ramsey, like I said earlier on, maybe this is a good opportunity to bring El Neni in and give El Neni get some playing time. Alexis is a funny one, because Alexis, he doesn't like to be dropped, and but he plays so much on the edge, and I would be gutted if Alexis now picked up an injury which will rule him out for the Spurs game. Cup final, So I think Wenger's got to be a bit clever the way he plays this. I think maybe Theo is going to be quite fit, so maybe dropping Alexis and putting Theo up top could be an option. Ozil, he looked pretty knackered yesterday towards the end, and he was making some runs, and I was like, take him off. He looked absolutely, finished. So again, it might be an opportunity to play Iwobi, starting Iwobi maybe up front or on that front three ahead of Ozil. Up front, you've got options. You've got Welbeck that can start. You've got Giroud that can start. So there is options there for Arsene, and I think that he's got to sort of mix it and match it up a bit, because we played so many minutes at Wembley and we've got so many important games coming up. So I think it will be wise for Arsene to sort of like mix and match and bring some players in that haven't played so much, the likes of Iwobi, Theo, and Elneny.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I completely agree with your back three. I think Rob Holding should be reasonably fresh. So although he did play 120 minutes, I get that, and he's a kid, and I get that point. He hasn't played a lot of the season. So, and he'll be desperate to play. He'll be feeding off the confidence of his last 2 games. I say continue. Let the boy continue. He's young. He should be able to recover well. Koscielny and Gabriel, I think we don't have any other options. I think if either of them have a really bad knock or whatever, then maybe you can consider Mustafi. But you all know I'm not Mustafi's hugest fan. But I don't know. I'd keep it the same as well at the back. Regardless of if Ox had an injury or not, I'm saving Ox for the North London derby, so I would have changed it to Bellerin anyway, personally. And I think you're correct with the Gibbs thing. I 100% start Gibbs in this game, even though I thought Monreal did pretty well at the weekend. And then in central defence, I'd bring in Elneny for sure. This is probably where my controversial pick would come into play. I would drop Ramsey. Sorry, I would. I'd drop Ramsey. And I'd play Maitland-Niles. I really like the look of that kid. I'd give him an opportunity just because I think we're getting to the point of the season where you can afford to start taking little risks here and there. And I think that kid potentially could be so good for us. And I would love to see him in a game like that against Leicester. So I don't expect necessarily a lot of people to agree with that, but again, I'm keeping Saturday in mind. I think Saturday is the more important game. I don't want Spurs to win this damn league, so everything we can do to put a dent in that, I'm all for. I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of starting Iwobi at that number 10 spot. Why not? Rest Ozil again for the game in mind on Saturday. I'd start Alexis. I'd start him probably with the view of perhaps bringing him off after an hour, which he won't like, but fuck it, you'll have to deal with it. You'll have to deal with it. It's better than not playing at all.
Yeah.
And then Welbeck would start from me up front. I'd leave Giroud out completely. I want to see what Welbeck can do with this shape. Because I honestly believe he's better suited than Giroud is in this shape. So I would prefer to see Welbeck in this position. Plus, he does tend to play well against Leicester, so let's see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we're quite similar on the same lines here. I think Wenger does need to sort of freshen things up, but he's got to do it, quite, how can I put it, cleverly in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we're very similar in terms of team selection.
So I guess what would your prediction be? That would be the kind of last thing. And final thoughts.
I think there'll certainly be goals, only because both teams are pretty attacking, and Leicester, I don't think that they are too strong defensively, but I think we'll certainly score. Whether or not we'll keep a clean sheet, I can't remember the last time we kept a clean sheet, to be honest with you. So I think there will be goals. I'll probably go for a 3-1 Arsenal victory. As that.
I think that's very confident. To be honest, I'm probably going to go with a 2-1. I think Jamie Vardy will be bang up for that game, so I can't see how they don't score, because the Arsenal fans will be all over him. They'll be all over him. So I think he'll be right up for that game, and he thrives off things like that. Annoyingly, but he does. So I can definitely see them scoring. But I think I honestly think we'll win. I think that man, every game, regardless of what you want to say about Arsenal constantly faltering, there's always every season. There's always one game that seems to spark us on a little run.
Mm.
And I think this Man City win could be that.
I agree.
Could be that game that just sparks us on a run to finish the season well. Regardless of whether you think we're going to take the top four or win the FA Cup, if you're an Arsenal fan, you want us to win as many games as possible. And I'm sick of seeing this. Oh, I don't want us to get the top four because that means Wenger will get a contract. Or I don't want us to win the FA Cup because that means Wenger will get a contract. If you're a true Arsenal fan, that thought wouldn't even utter in your mind. It wouldn't even be in your mind. And I don't want Wenger there. But surely you want the club to win games. I don't understand that mentality. What do you mean? You don't want the club to win?
I can't understand that, Chris. But
I think that would be, I ideally would want us to finish strongly. I don't know what you think, Memz.
No, I totally agree with you, and like you as well. I mean, there's so many sort of weird scenarios being played out. People are saying to me, would you want Arsenal to win the FA Cup if that meant Wenger staying for another 2 years, or would you prefer that we lost the FA Cup and Wenger left? I'm an Arsenal supporter. I want Arsenal to win titles. I want Arsenal to win cups. So of course I want my team to be lifting up silverware, because which Arsenal fan realistically is not going to celebrate if we win the FA Cup? I think everyone is there. Of course there is the Wenger element to add to that, and there's all types of scenarios that which can play out. But first and foremost, I want my club to win and to be successful. It's top four for me. Doesn't mean anything anymore, if I'm being honest with you, Chris. We qualify for the Champions League. We never really look like winning it. It seems to me that we're only in the Champions League to generate the financial rewards and sponsorships. So for me, top four, it's not really an achievement for me anymore. So I would quite happily win the FA Cup and Arsene Wenger to leave on a high as a hero. I think if that was Arsene Wenger's final game for Arsenal Football Club, and we lifted the FA Cup and the players lifted him up, I think that would be a fitting way for him to sort of bow out, and he should be remembered for that. Hopefully that's what we see.
To be remembered as the most successful FA Cup manager ever. What a perfect way to remember him.
Absolutely. I think he deserves that as well, Chris. I mean, for what he's given the club, it would be a fitting way for him to bow out, sort of thing, as on a high.
I completely agree. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining me, Memz. Let the people know where they can find you, as if the people don't already know where they can find you, but let them know anyway.
You know what, mate? You can find me at Arsenal_Memz. I'm on Twitter quite regularly, and I sort of try my best to sort of reply and engage with everybody. I'm on Arsenal Fans TV, as a lot of people know. I try and do the shows quite regularly, but it's really is a pleasure, Chris, to sit here and to speak to you and to be able to sort of speak about my opinions as well, because usually it's me asking the questions. And mate, keep on doing these YouTube hangouts as well, because I really enjoy your channel, and you've got that gift, and you've got that great big gorgeous smile as well. So
thank you, mate. Thank you. Thank you so much, Memz, for coming on. It's been worth chasing you and harassing you to come on. If you guys are listening to me for the first time, because I know Memz brought a bunch of people with him, do hit that subscribe button. You'll get plenty of content out of me, and you can also follow me at Colossal Chig. Both mine and Mem's Twitter handle will be in the description below. If you're watching live, just give it 5 minutes. I'll update that shortly. But yeah, that's pretty much it from both of us. So hopefully Arsenal will win, and my prediction is we'll win 2-1. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll do this thing. All right, we're out of here, people. Take care. Peace.